I've been wanting to try this DIY washi tape technique ever since I got obsessed with monoprinting because it's an inexpensive way to create your own unique designs. Now you know how I like to experiment with each technique I try. I will also use another product whose results blew my mind. Now let's get started. My technique starts with applying paint on a gel plate, but not in the usual way. I'm not rolling paint first with a brayer like I usually do. Instead, I start by dabbing acrylic paint through my flower mandala stencil using a sponge dauber. I'm working on an 8x10 gel plate, but I'm not covering it fully with this design. Instead, I only add it in 3 different places. You'll understand why in a minute. Then I take a second stencil and dab another color of paint through it. This is my triangle grid stencil, and I don't apply it everywhere either, as not only do I want to have a variety of designs and colors on my plate, but I'm using very little paint, so it's super inexpensive. When daubing, it's best to use a little paint at a time on the sponge, so it doesn't run underneath the stencil. For my third design, I use a foam stamp instead of a stencil. I dab some purple paint on my circle texture stamp and then press it randomly across my plate. I do the same thing with orange paint using my tile texture stamp and even use my torn film foam stamp to create more markings with bright blue paint. The plate is starting to look amazing, but it's not full yet. The key to this technique is to let the paint dry on the plate, and you'll see why soon. So in the meantime, I grab black and white acrylic markers and start doodling on the plate. The markers add the perfect touch to the design, as you can control what you're drawing. This part is actually so much fun and can add amazing details to your background. However, while I look at my plate, it still feels a little empty, and you'll see soon why it's better to have it fuller. So I take my unchained cell stencil and dab a few more of the smaller cells with a dark color. I let this fully dry, and in the meantime, I create another colorful design gel plate so I can use it with that other product I told you about. I'm applying it the same way with the same technique, using my stencils, stamps, and even some recycled products like lids to create circular marks. It's also a good time to tell you that I'm collaborating with my friend Jerry today, and I will link her video at the end, as she also has different DIY washi tape techniques to show you that are just amazing. Now it's time for the best part, creating the tape. I'm using clear packing tape. I cut one strip, line it up with the bottom of the plate, press it firmly with my fingers and pull. The paint transfers so easily onto the tape and it looks amazing. And then to make things more interesting, I roll some turquoise fluid acrylic on the other half of the plate, just so I can have 2 different types of colorful tapes. The turquoise paint is translucent enough so you can still see the design on either side of your tape. And there's advantages to having a transparent design, as you can pick which side of the design you want to use. I have a little strip left on my plate, so I use Scotch tape to create a thinner washi tape, and it also works perfectly. You can use these tapes as is to add an easy colorful design to a card, for example. Or you could collage them into a canvas or art journal like I'm doing here. The tape will look different depending on what color you use in the background. Although the tape is still a little bit sticky, it's best to glue it with gel medium and seal it, in case you want to add other wet mediums like I will be doing soon. But first, I want to show you the second design. Have you guessed yet what the product is? I'm using a repositional adhesive sheet. It acts exactly like the tape, but it's a full sheet so you can actually die cut it. And that's exactly what I do, and cut some hearts with my Cricut machine. I place the sheet onto my plate, but since it's bigger than my gel plate, I totally miss placing the heart area on the actual plate. But at least I know it works, and it transfers perfectly. So while I put the sheet back into my Cricut machine to cut the hearts on the other side, I create another painted background on my gel plate and place the original die-cut hearts onto the new design and pull. They come out absolutely gorgeous. Then I take a new adhesive sheet. When I pull, I get this gorgeous distressed transparent sheet. Now you know me and my out-of-the-box ideas, so not only do I use the hearts to my art journal, But stay tuned because I also use it for another technique which has to be my all-time favorite. So I glue the hearts in my journal, which I first stamped with a stitched image, as I knew it would show behind the transparent hearts. Then I use some white paper paste and apply it around the collage tape to hide the edges. I use this technique very often when I don't want straight edges to show in my art. Then after drying the paste, I use the same turquoise fluid acrylic paint, spray over the area with water, and let the paint flow toward the inside of the journal. I do the same thing with some fluid gold acrylic paint and use the gold paint to add some splatters, along with some doodling and journaling around the hearts. And for that out-of-the-box idea technique I promised you, I placed the monoprinted hearts in between 2 sheets of acetate because I wanted to have a transparent background. So when you open the card, you can see the hearts from both sides. There are so many ideas out there to easily create DIY washi tape to use in your projects, like the incredible techniques Jerry used in her video right here to make her own tapes.